I throw out the topics, and then he gives you a scale of where they fall on the Freakout Factor.
Freakout Factor.
What's your Freakout Factor? One of our favorite games.
Freakout Factor. Freakout Factor. Freakout Factor.
You have to be very careful in how you say Freakout Factor.
Freakout Factor. Freakout Factor.
Freak out or no?
Freakout Factor. Almost halfway through, Anthony Castrovince. We don't like that little montage. There's no freak out in your game. A few things have surprised you, and they run the gamut. Good morning to you. What surprises you is, I think, at the top of everybody's list. I think I would have predicted one division correctly at this point. How many would you have end of June?
We're not revealing those records just yet.
Okay.
I'll admit defeat at the end of the year, but yeah, everything's all mumbly-jumbly in the standings this year. A lot of upheaval, and that's what makes it fun, right? But so the Guardians actually regained control of the AL Central last night by half a game. They're still sub 500 and on top of that vaunted AL Central. But for a good chunk of the season, we've had 5 divisions with turnover at the top from the end of last season. That's actually not without precedent. There was one season in the wild card era. You go back to 2007, Lauren, all 6 divisions that year had a different winner than in 2006. That's not going to happen this year because the Braves refused to let it happen, it appears. But we could legitimately have turnover in 5 divisions. That just, it speaks to all the great team storylines going on out there. The Rangers have been terrific without Jacob deGrom. The Reds, Ellie De La Cruz comes up and has an instant impact there, and they surge to the top of the NL Central. The Twins are not on top right now, but they've had a much better pitching staff than anticipated. And the D-backs, who I thought would be a pretty frisky team, have turned out to be a fantastic team on top of what is a pretty upside down NL West relative to expectations. And then, elsewhere in the playoff picture, you got, pleasant surprises like the Marlins. The Giants are better than expected. The Orioles were, a nice surprise last year, but I think they're even better this year. So it's pretty fun season in the standings.
You hit on it with the Diamondbacks. For me, the NL West I would have completely whiffed on, NL East included. I don't think any of us would have 17 games back. The Mets ending June, and Steve Cohen addressing the media. And now, Anthony, with the deadline, we're thinking, what the heck are they going to do?
Yeah. I mean, we didn't do the traditional Freakout Factor segment today, Lauren, and that's because when I put in the inputs in my Freakout calculator, it imploded because of the Mets. They blew up my system. This is a zero-sum game. So when you have surprise teams, you have surprise disappointments as well. And the Mets are top of that list because while there's teams like the Padres, the Cardinals, the Mariners, who are much worse than expected, none of them paid $350 million to be this disappointing as the Mets did. And it's not good when midway through the season, the owner is holding a press conference. And what they do at the trade deadline, I mean, as Steve Cohen said, there's no reason to add. And the question becomes, do you subtract? So they need to get it going in the next few weeks.
17 games back, and in second place is a Marlins team that has arms to get through a postseason series. They also have Luis Arraez. Now that we're all putting eyes on him every night, does this batting chase, does it surprise you at all?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you just don't assume in the modern game a 400 chase this deep into the season. He's 81 team games into the season. The last player to hit this high of an average this deep into the year was Larry Walker in 1997. Actually had a 410 average through 81 team games. Arraez is doing it at a time where, just velocity and so many different looks coming out of the bullpen. There is an argument that it's never been harder to hit 400. I would say it was harder to hit 400 last year, with the defensive, extreme defensive shifts.
Yeah.
So he's definitely benefited from, the limitation on shifts. His average to the pull side is 443 this season. It was 375 last season. Those are both absurd averages, but obviously he's benefited from that. But this is the king of contact in MLB, and he's making the most of it here. It's been a lot of fun to watch.
King of contact, I like that. I feel like we just throw out numbers, Anthony, because it's fun to talk about in the media and as narratives, and we don't realize how hard they are. Because every March we say, well, this guy have a 40-40 season. For Ronald Acuna Jr., that's looking like child's play this year. Crazy.
This is the year of Ronald Acuna Jr. I mean, Shohei Ohtani is doing incredible things as he does every year, but I think this is going to go down as the year where Ronald Acuna Jr. became, the MVP player we have expected him to be. And that was a question mark, after that terrible knee injury, required surgery, and you didn't know if he would be quite as dynamic on the base paths. Well, he's been pretty dynamic on the base paths. Again, assisted by the new rules, but he's got 19 homers to go with 36 steals. I think we came into the year thinking, oh, maybe someone like Ronald Acuna Jr. could have a 40-40 season. Well, how about a 40-70 season? That has never happened before, and Acuna is on pace to do it. And you see right there, this is the shocking thing, Lauren. Look at that reduction in strikeout rate. It's like Ronald Acuna came into this year. He knew there were questions about him, coming off the injury. And it's like he was intent on saying, I'm one of the best players in baseball, and I'm going to prove it. And he's done it by cutting down strikeouts, being aggressive on the base paths, and, oh, by the way, hitting for a ton of power.
On pace for 40-70. I mean, I'm looking at those numbers thinking, what the heck are we doing with our lives? We need to clean it up. Anthony Castrovince with the latest. Thanks so much.